the point at the present can be segmented as an hour or a second. This this explanation is about defining the present and the distinctive period according to the speakers. So the object of the preposition having been found to indicate the experience of the subject lasting at the present is understandable. This explanation is about the way to understand how a point at the present can be a period for the experience as the object of the preposition with. The speaker specifies the point of the present into a period and the subject caused by the experience as the object to get the action indicated by the transitive verb feed more than once during the period. From now on, we will study about the sort of the prepositions. We will study from the preposition in. The speaker applies the preposition in to signify the relationship that the subject of the preposition is a part of the composition that forms the object of the preposition. Before we start to study the next slide, we will review the premise to apply a preposition to describe the existence of the subject. The preposition is classified as the fifth sort of an adverb, so the preposition describes the other description as the description. So the other description for the subject is able to be understood as the existence of the subject according to the fact The fact is that the one created a subject at first, then we are able to indicate the subject with an indicative word. The fact that we can indicate a subject with an indicative word, that means that the subject was created by the one earlier than we indicate the subject with the indicative word. So we will interpret the definition of each preposition based on the existence of the subject. Secondly, as we study the preposition with the transitivity, like the transitive word, we will apply the way to interpret the transitive verb into the way to interpret the definition of the preposition. So we will apply this way. The subject starts and gives the definition of the preposition to the object. The object receives the definition of the preposition from the subject and the object complete the subject-object relationship. The context for completing a subject-object relationship means that the subject and the object go back to the original state before the subject-object relationship takes place. Sorry. We will apply these two ways of interpreting the prepositions as the premise to study the search of the prepositions. There is a clause. I saw you in the past. In this clause, the preposition in is applied to mediate the subject of the preposition, who are the listeners, and the object indicated by the phrase of the noun, the past. According to the definition of the preposition in, we can understand that the listeners are included in the object, the past. The speaker applies the preposition in to signify the relationship that the subject's use of the preposition existed at a point that the object, the past of the preposition included. The object of the preposition, the past, occurred with the past tense revealed by the form of the transitive verb saw. So the point that the subject of the preposition existed, the listeners is the subject or the listeners is a part that the period indicated by the object, the past of the preposition included. We can enlarge the way to interpret the existence of the listeners from the two premises that are the time and the place allowed by the one. In this clause, the preposition in describes the existences of the listeners from the time when the listeners existed. In this context, we can understand that the listeners were surrounded by the atmosphere defined as a point in the past. There is the second clause, I see you in the mall. In this clause, the preposition in describes the existences of the subject, who are the listeners, and we can understand that from the definition of the preposition in, the listeners are included the venue, the place, indicated by the phrase of the general noun, the mall. The speaker applies so we can understand that the speaker focuses on the existences of the listeners from the time according to the object when the listeners existed by the definition of the preposition in. We can also understand that the speaker focuses on the existences of the listeners at the place as one of the two premises to deal with the existences of the listeners allowed by the one. The speaker applies the preposition in to signify the relationship that the subject you of the preposition are included as a part of the place indicated by the object, the mode of the preposition.